Hey, this is Dan here at Studio Blue. This is Pilates All Levels. Only optional props needed: a mini ball, a mini band. You can also use a long TheraBand. You could use a foam roller instead of a mini ball, or you could use some pillows that are kind of folded up. All that said, we're going to start feet hip distance. You can be on a mat, off of a mat, just somewhere comfortable, and just close your eyes for a moment. Yeah, and as your eyes close, just notice where you are in space, where your weight is on your feet. So is the weight towards your toes or towards your heels, to the insides of the feet or to the outsides of the feet. And there's no right or wrong on this. It's just starting to get curious of how your body feels. And then just start to breathe in and breathe out any kind of breath you want. Maybe a Pilates breath, maybe a yoga breath, but just big inhale, big exhale. And just start to let the nervous system relax a little bit. And as you breathe in, imagine that you could grow a little bit taller through the crown of your head. And as you breathe out, start to feel your tummy drawing in a little bit without losing some of that height or length you just created. And then just very gently start to rock your weight a little bit towards your toes. And then rock your weight a little bit towards your heels. And you might open your eyes or keep them closed, right? Just make sure you don't feel dizzy or feel like you're going to fall over. And then find the place in the middle of those 2 points. And then just rock your weight a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. And again, maybe just start to notice what muscles are turning on. So inner thighs, side of the glutes, maybe a little bit of core, some different back muscles. But just find the place that feels pretty centered. And then as you inhale, take the shoulders up into the ears. And then exhale, just let them kind of fall heavy. Just a couple like that. Inhale, shoulders lift. And exhale, fall heavy. 2 more. Inhale up. And exhale down. Last one. Inhale up. And then exhale down. And on your next breath out, just let the head tilt to one side. Feel some weight in the opposite shoulder. Inhale back to center, and then exhale, let the head tilt to the other side. Just again, feeling weight in that opposite shoulder. And just a couple more at your own time, your own pace, looking for a stretch on the side of the neck, even maybe into the outside of the jaw. And just taking note of, how does all this feel in the beginning of the hour? And then we'll do this again at the end and see if anything's changed. So come back to center once you're even, nod your chin a little bit, and start to roll down through your spine. And just as far as you can that feels comfortable, a little bit of a bend in the knees. Yeah, and just reaching towards the floor. You might touch, you might not, it's all good. Just kind of take note again where you're at. How's your spine feel? How does the back of your legs feel? How's the back of your neck feel? And then root into the feet. Exhale, roll yourself up one bone at a time. Let the head come up last. And just one more. Let the chin nod a little bit. You'll feel the back of the skull kind of reach back slightly. And just start to bring it down. So stomach starting to draw in. Yeah, easy into the knees. At the bottom, just kind of hang out. Couple deep breaths. As you inhale, feel your ribs expanding, almost like helium, trying to lift them to the sky. And then as you exhale, just feel everything get a little heavier. Just 1 or 2 more breaths like that. And just notice, is there any lingering tension in your neck? Kind of, yeah, especially behind the head. Yeah, exactly. And then give those knees a little bend, slowly roll up on your next breath. Nice. And then we'll make our way onto our back. Actually, I lied, seated rather, with a mini ball, if you have it. Again, a roller would work, or pillows would work. And we're going to take this to about the center of our shoulder blade. So it doesn't have to be too low or too high. Hands together behind the head. Elbows into your peripheral vision. So lower waistline's drawing in, so your lower back is secure. The lower back is pretty neutral, pelvis pretty neutral. And then keeping the head supported as you inhale, start to stretch back. And just feel the upper spine, the middle spine getting a little bit of movement. And then as you exhale, curl up. That's a good sign or bad sign. I'm already shaking. So we'll inhale, come back. So whatever you did over the weekend will definitely affect your workout on a Monday. Exhale, curl on up. Good. So, right, doesn't have to be the biggest extension or biggest curl of the hour, of the day. But just start to almost imagine like a cat and cow. You're just starting to get a little bit of mobility, upper spine and middle spine, starting to wake up the abdominals and the obliques on the way up. And just start to check in that every time you curl up, your pelvis isn't overly tucking, you're not overly using the hips or the glutes. Yep. And you're just trying to maintain a little bit of space in between the chin and the chest the whole time. So that space doesn't really change at the top of the movement, and it doesn't really change at the bottom of the movement. One more. Inhale through the nose as you go back. Start to exhale through the mouth as you come up. Stay lifted on this next one. And as you exhale, take a small twist to the right. It's almost going to feel like that ball or a pillow is pushing to the left. Inhale back to center, and then exhale, small twist to the left. Feeling upper spine start to rotate. Inhale through center, and exhale the twist. Feet nice and heavy. Yep, elbows pretty wide, exactly. Exhaling the twist, and center. Just one more each side. Yep. One more to your left. And then find your center and then stretch over the ball. And you might decide you want to take it a little bit higher, so closer to your shoulders as you stretch back. Might feel nicer or more supported, but just bring it to a place where you feel like you can hang out for a couple breaths. Maybe lengthen your legs out in front of you so the front of the hips open, the whole front line of the stomach gets a little bit of a stretch, head stays supported. And then nod the chin, keep the head supported, curl the head and the chest up, bend your legs again, and then maybe push yourself back so that ball is now a little bit more at the base of your ribs. All right, hold here. And again, as you inhale, come back in space, maybe halfway, maybe 3/4 of what you did previously. And then as you exhale, curl up and imagine you could float your chest off the ball slightly. And then again, sink into the ball, stretch back into your extension. And then exhale, curl up and imagine you could float, you could lift up and off. Yeah, and are you literally gonna come all the way off the ball? Definitely not. But are you gonna feel more of the center line of your stomach? For sure. Right? Yeah, keep going with that. Yeah. Anybody not feel that? Okay. Good. Yeah, and just make sure that, when there's that sense of lifting up off the ball, that you don't feel like it's gripping into your middle back muscles, but you really just get that sense that the front line of the body's working. Yep. Lovely. Good. Last two. And last one. This time, curl up, reach the arms forward at the top, palms face one another. And as you exhale, take your arms to the sky, but imagine you could keep lifting up and off your ball. Inhale, the arms drop back down. And again, exhale, arms lift to the sky. Try not to sink into the ball, but instead lift up a little higher. Inhale, arms drop. A couple more like that. So it's rib cage arms because the arms are moving, but the rib cage is not. Inhale down. Last one, exhale up. Hold here, take an extra breath. Imagine your fingertips could reach a little bit higher to the sky, and then support your head, keep that height, and then start to stretch back. And again, adjust the ball where you need it. Maybe it goes higher towards your shoulders. Butterfly the knees open, and again, stretch back. So now the inner hips and the inner thighs get a little bit of a release. Good, take a full breath. Exhale, curl up, fold the knees together, and then come off of that ball or prop, whatever it may be, take it off to the side. Yep, and then make your way all the way down onto your back. Feet about hip distance, arms rest by the side. As you exhale, press into the feet, curl your tail, and start to roll the hips to the sky. One bone at a time. As the pelvis lifts, feel the knees stretch forward, heels pull towards your shoulders. Front of the hips start to open, back of the hips start to work. Holding at the top. And then again, exhale, roll it down. Upper, middle, lower spine. All the way to neutral. And again, exhale, curl. Start to connect into the back of the glutes. Knees are stretching forward. So front of the thighs get a stretch, front of the hips get a stretch. And there's a sense of weight to the rib cage at the top. And then again, just roll it on down. Roll it on down. Yep, one more like this, curling and rolling. Yep. Nice, yep, keeping that softness to the ribs at the top, rolling it down slowly. Good, this time we'll roll up to the top. Next time you're up, stay lifted. Yep, check that the hips are even, right? Put some weight into your left foot. Feel the back of those left glutes. And then as you exhale, maybe just the right heel lifts or that whole right leg floats tabletop without really changing the position of the pelvis or the back. Now you can set that right leg down, hold, and then lift it back up slowly. Again, it's an inhale down and exhale to stay lifted. Good. Yeah, just staying on that same side, and this can be right toes on the ground the whole time. So it's just a heel lift and lower, or that whole leg is coming up and down. But you should start to feel some warmth in the back side of the left glutes, left hamstrings. Yeah, nice. Last one. Set the right leg down, pause. Maybe lift the hips a little higher if they sunk down. And then lift that opposite heel or leg tabletop. And then slowly tap it down. Yeah. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Feel that sense of your core muscles are still on, so the ribs aren't popping. Good, nice square hips. There's some weight in the arms, back of the shoulders, so the front of the collarbones are opening. Good. And then the next time that leg goes down, feel both feet heavy to the ground. Take an inhale. And then as you exhale, roll down, upper, middle, all the way down through your lower back. Nice, inhale at the bottom. This time exhale, curl the tailbone, roll the hips up, grab your ball if it's close by. You're gonna place it under your sacrum. Now this would work with a foam roller as well. And then once it's there, so it's in between your tailbone and your lower back, you want to imprint slightly. So think of the tailbone scooping under and the back of the pelvis pressing down. And then one leg at a time will float tabletop. And we'll just adjust here. So you might kind of wiggle around a little bit, but eventually that should settle. Feel weight in the back of the ribs, back of the pelvis. And as you exhale, tap the right heel towards the ground without letting the back overly arc up off that ball. Inhale to lift. Exhale, waistline. So from the pelvic floor all the way through kind of the center of the abs. Everything's helping to stabilize. Yeah. And the ball or roller is nice because it gives you a little bit of feedback or kind of tactile cueing onto kind of what the back of the pelvis is doing. Now, if you want more challenge, bend your elbows or take your arms to the sky. So there's a little bit of a balance challenge. And then same thing. So tapping a heel towards the ground, maybe you start to tap a little further away from your body, but without changing the back line of the spine. So the pelvis and the spine doesn't change shape. So you're really thinking, right? If you're reaching out further away, you're really thinking of allowing the hip to open and then using your core muscles to help stabilize and kind of brace the body to help keep it still. Yep, and peeling it back, right? You just tap a little bit closer towards that ball. And the inhale is really important on here as well as the exhale. So that inhale is going to help open up the back of the ribs. It's going to help relax some of those middle back extensors, and the exhale is going to help kind of find that front of the core a little bit more. Just take one more to the left. And once you finish your left side, let the knees fall in towards the body. Yep. And then take the legs to the sky. Softly point the toes. Yeah, and same thing with the arms, right? They can be by your side. They can be up to the sky for more of a challenge. Now, keeping the waistline in as you exhale, let the right leg start to lengthen and reach away from you. So really think of the front of the hip opening, waistline drawing down. Yeah, and you don't have to touch the floor, but see, where can you go to where you stay within your abs and you don't feel the spine changing? And then exhale, lift back up, feeling abdominals, a little bit of inner thigh, and switching. So left leg reaching, allow the hip to open. Slowly bring it back up. And maybe take the arms a little bit more over your head. So there's a challenge to keep the ribs down. So the obliques, front of the waistline has to work a little bit more. Kind of like double leg stretch-ish. Double leg stretch meets hamstring pull. Yeah. Yeah, take your time with them. Knees, for the most part, staying pretty straight. So the movement's coming from the hip joint, just one at a time. Ending to the left. Once you finish that left side, knees to the body, set the feet to the floor, and then lift on up, take your prop away. Nicely done. And then imprint the lower spine, so no prop needed for this. One leg at a time will float up through tabletop. Grab the back of your thighs, lift the head and the chest. And feel that same weight in the back of the pelvis, the back of the ribs. Elbows pretty wide, take an inhale. Exhale, slowly take the hands out, reach them back to the head. The slower you go, the harder it is. And then on your next breath out, small twist to the right. Maybe the left leg stretches out 45 degrees, so the feet are still the same height. Inhale back to center, and then small twist left as we reach to the right. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Yeah. So this is kind of the full expression of obliques, but it could also be, right, a heel tap as we reach towards our bent knee. If you want to peel it back a little bit. Yeah. It can be an arm reach to help with any upper back tightness. It'll help just kind of keep you up off your shoulders. So lots of different places to go. Eventually just take one more to your left. Hug the knees into the chest. Yeah, let the feet open, let the knees open so you feel a stretch in the inner thighs and the inner hips. Take a full breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Fold the thighs together. Take your legs to the sky again and just notice what this feels like without the support of the prop underneath us, right? It's usually a little bit more challenging. Now turn your toes apart, heels stay together, right? Flex your feet and then bend your knees towards your armpits, keeping your tailbone rooting into the ground. And it's almost gonna feel like you're pulling your heels down, kind of an imaginary wall in front of you. And then as you exhale, reach your heels up, point your feet, keeping your turnout, and give your inner thighs and inner quads a little hug. Flex your feet, bend the knees open, and then exhale, reach. So it's abdominal, deep inner thigh, point, flex, and bend open. Now, if this feels a little bit too intense on the hips or the back, again, you can use that prop, which will offload a little bit, might feel a little bit nicer. So using a mini ball or a foam roller, right? Or just decreasing the range, right? And all that means is maybe you just don't reach up quite so high, but you're still feeling the movement in the hips. The core is stabilizing and those inner thigh muscles should still be working. Last one. Next time you bend in, just hug those legs into the body. Lovely. And then send the left leg to the ground. Keep hugging the right leg in. Yeah, try to ease into the front of the hip. On an inhale, open the right arm, pull that leg across. Right shoulder stays fairly heavy. And just breathe into the side of the waist. From the armpit all the way down to the hip. And then as you exhale, return to center, right leg to the ground. Left leg hugs in. Yeah, and just hold here for a moment. Allow the hip crease to soften. Inhale that leg over the body, open the left arm, turn the palm to face up. Yeah, breathe into it. Yeah. And then exhale, again, use the waistline, bring yourself back to center. Legs to the ground, so anything you need for a roll-up. So it might be a band around your legs, might be a pad under your back, might be weights in your hands, right? But arms will come overhead, toes pointed, feet and thighs together, ribs heavy. Inhale, lift the arms, head, chest, look forward. And then as you exhale slowly, right, try to keep those feet rooted as we roll up, stretch forward, shoulders, just past the hips or so. And then again, curl and start to roll back. Yeah. Yep, feet are staying heavy. So I'm actively thinking of rooting down and pulling the heels towards me slightly. Arms reach overhead. Ribs stay connected. Inhale, arms, head, chest. Exhale. Start to roll it up. Good. Stretch it forward. Easy in the shoulders. Start to roll it down. So if this version, if none of the props, weights, anything's helping, you can always go half roll back, pause, and then roll it back forward. Right? Yeah. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, ace pads or gardening pads are really nice on this one. A folded up towel would work as well. Yep. Good. Next time you're up, let's stay lifted. Good. Good roll-ups today. All right, if you have a ball, grab your ball, place it in between your knees. You might scoot forward just slightly on your mat, and then arms will come forward. So if right away you're like, oh, this feels awful in my hips, you can always support yourself with your hands at any point, right? But give that ball a little bit of a squeeze. Spine's pretty long. And then curl your pelvis and roll back slightly so your hips should start to offload. Your lower back's gonna round a little bit. You should start to feel those lower abs and kind of around the base of the ribs start to kind of kick on. Now give that ball a little bit more squeeze so you feel your inner thighs. And then as you exhale, can you take your right hand to your heart? Nothing else will move, but you should feel some stuff around the ribs start to kick in, right? Inhale it forward. Check that it's not just your hips gripping, but you get a little bit of inner thighs and core, and then left hand to the chest. Bring it forward. Now advancing, you can take right hand to the back of the head. Bring it forward. Left hand to the back of the head. Bring it forward. Couple more. Yeah, try to relax the toes. Yeah, feel your inner thighs, feel your abs, feel your obliques. One more to the left. Right, both hands to the back of the thighs, sit tall. Right, take a moment, right, ease into the shoulders. You can use your arms to help sit. And then curl, rock back off your sit bones, right? There's a little bit of roundness to the lower spine. Arms reach out, right? Inner thighs are set, tummy set. And then your right fingers come to your breastbone. And as you exhale, your left arm, it's gonna reach forward so much that your body reacts and starts to go into a small twist. So my left arm is just reaching forward. I want you to feel right lower ribs, left upper ribs. Inhale to center, right? Left fingertips to the breastbone. Right arm forward, reach so far, right? Keep reaching, keep reaching. That reach creates the rotation. And then back to center, fingertips to the chest. Left arm forward, reach, feel both sides of your waist. Back to center, one more time. Right arm forward, little squeeze. Reach, reach, reach. Back to center, and then grab the thighs, lift the chest. Take that ball. You felt that, yeah? Oh, yeah. Feet together. That was a sneaky one. I feel them too. Feet together, knees open. So that one is half bolt roll back with rotation, but it's just, we just got sneakier. It's crazy, right? Yeah. And you felt both sides of your ribs, yeah? Yeah, cool. Yeah. So just one round of those. Hopefully you felt them at home too. And then let's roll back up. So I want you to see if you can feel those a little bit more in round 2 of our obliques on the ground, right? So your obliques, one side, right? Both sides are working to help rotate you. but I feel them the most on that one too, right? So we'll see if we feel anything different on our back. So come on down. Now this can be knees bent, feet flat, pelvis neutral, or lower back a little bit imprinted, legs float tabletop. Grab the thighs, lift the chest. Right, we're just off our shoulders. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands to the back of the head. And then on your next breath out, start to twist to the right. Yeah, and then left leg can reach. Inhale to center. Exhale, twist left, reach. But as you twist, notice, right, do you feel both sides of the ribs still kind of helping you out to create this rotation? It won't feel quite as intense as that seated one, but you should definitely feel something. It's kind of left, or as we twist to the right, kind of that right lower rib line, left upper, and then vice versa. One more to the left. Back to center, lower the head, grab the back of your thighs, and then as you exhale, push your thighs into your hand, nod your chin, roll up to a balance point. Now, at any point, your feet can come back down to what we were just doing before. Otherwise, the chest is lifted. Maybe the feet are a little bit dropped below the knees so that the thighs get to relax here. And then rock just off your sit bones or just off your tail. So you feel kind of a little bit of like that deep pelvic floor, deep abs turn on. And then on an exhale, can the arms reach forward without losing your shape? All right? On your next breath out, can the right hand come behind the head? All right, do you feel your waistline? Inhale it forward. And then exhale, can the left hand come behind the head? Yep, inhale it forward. So it's deep hip, deep ab, deep oblique. My heels are squeezing in a little bit, so I also feel my inner thighs helping to stabilize me. Last one to the left. Grab the thighs, lift the chest, pull the knees a little closer to your body. And then as you exhale, lengthen the legs out. Yep, thighs can be parallel, chest a little lifted. So again, deep hip, deep ab, all the things. On your next exhale, can the arms reach forward without losing the height of your legs, right? So kind of imagine a gymnast right now and how often their legs are in the air and how incredibly challenging it is. Keep holding and breathing for 5, 4, 3, 2, cross the legs, come forward, hands and knees. On 1, spread the fingers out, knees under hips, round the spine like a cat. And then as you inhale, start to open the chest, look forward slightly, lift the tailbone, feel just a nice kind of long extended line through the whole spine. And then again, round. And try to relax the hips, the glutes, and extend. Shoulders dropping, tail lifting. Find the place in the middle, and then look to the right. Wag your tail to the right. Inhale to center. Exhale, look left. Wag your tail left. I still feel those obliques. Again, so obliques are working, right? Just in a little bit of a different way. They're working to help kind of bring you into a side bend. And there's other muscles involved as well, but for today, just really focusing on the obliques, focusing on the core because it's almost Turkey Day or Thanksgiving if we don't eat turkey. One more to the left. Find your center, feet together, knees open, push back, child's pose. Arms can reach out. They can go under your head, they can go behind you. Take a couple full breaths, so wide into the ribs. Yep. And roll yourself up. So if we're using a band today, grab your band, right? If you have a mini band, awesome. If you don't have a mini band at home, thighs together, wrap the band around your thighs pretty tight, right? Tied in a bow. And I promise, however tight it feels when you start tying that thing, it always loosens once you come off. Mini band, right? Try to keep it really wide. So I use my thumbs and I'll kind of pull out and just kind of ease it up over the knees onto the thighs, right? If it gets bunched up, it can start to cut off your circulation or, just do all sorts of weird things. And then we're going to come onto a side. Doesn't matter which one, just a side where you can see me. Knees will be bent forward, heels back in line with the sit bones. And you can use a pillow, a ball, anything you want under your head just to feel supported, or your arm can be long with the palm up. So we want to try to establish neutral on our side. So same thing we were doing standing and on our back. So you want to allow this top hip to hike up a little bit towards your ribs, and then you want to drop it down and find some length. And then if you think you don't want to be overly rounded like a cat or overly extended, you're somewhere in the middle. And then that top knee is going to lift. Yeah. Now squeeze the heels together. Take your top toes and turn the toes to the sky. It's kind of hard to see with my socks on today, but all right, so my top foot is turned out, my top heel is reaching down, and hips are still stacked. And if you reach back, do you feel your glutes? Okay, so slowly lower to the edge of your resistance. Try not to lose the resistance. A little bit of core, and then lift, hold at the top, and then slowly lower. So your glutes are still working on the down. They're working on the up, and they're working on the moment of pause, right? Now, 9 times out of 10, right, as your leg goes up, the pelvis will want to roll back, especially if there's any tightness kind of deep in the hip joint. So if there's a hand on a hip, right, as this knee goes up, make sure that the pelvis isn't moving backwards. And you might, feel less range of motion at first, but you might feel more butt. And over time, you can start to hopefully work on that range of motion building back. Now, with these bands, if you notice you have no range, like literally like you lift an inch because this band is on, it means it's too heavy, ditch the band, right? So you want to work within a range or a weight where you can still get this movement in your leg with all these muscles turning on. Yeah. Yep. Last one, lift and hold. Now keep the height of your knee, just lift your top foot to meet that height. So the outer hip muscles are still on. And now push back a little bit in space, keeping the knee bent. So we've just opened the front of the hip a bit more. And as you exhale, rotate your thigh in, keep tension on the band, right? Your foot's gonna end up going to the sky, and then lower back to center. So it's a rotate in, deep, deep, deep side of the butt muscles, back to center. Yep, internally rotate, back to center. Waistline still in. Yep. Rotate. Yeah. One more like this. Good. And then let everything rest down. Just kind of rub out the side of the glute a little bit. All right. And then take your top leg long. So top leg goes long, softly point the foot, check the waistline. And then keeping that soft point today, we're just going to lift up about hip height, right? So outer hip muscles, outer glutes are still on. Now, keeping the waistline in, can you reach your leg a little bit back in space? So the center of your glutes turn on, the front of the hip opens, but the spine relatively doesn't really move or change too much. And then you're just going to come back to center. And again, exhale, it's a little bit of a reach back, hip opens, you'll feel the back of your hamstrings start to turn on as well, right? So hip opens, glute hamstrings kick in, back to center. And again, yep. Everybody feel that? Cool. Again, right? And if you think of a 45-degree angle, on average, your hip extension, you have about 30 degrees. So it's not too much, right? Before the lower back and the body has to start to kind of react and move. So think, spine, pelvis, everything's pretty stable. Now, next time you reach back, hold your reach back, right? Hold there. And then on your exhale, lift a little bit towards the sky and then back to center. And again, lift and back to center. And you'll feel more of, right, outer hip muscles, outer glutes. Waistline still in, shoulders are easy. Good, last two. Last one. And then bring it all the way in, knees together, feet together, both hands behind the head. Unless you're using a pillow under your head, then just the top hand. But as we inhale, top elbow, we'll start to lift, rotate the arm, the head, and the upper spine back in space. Easy into your breath. All right. Breathing into that. And then slowly start to rotate yourself back to center. Yep, and one more. So top elbow, head ribs start to rotate backwards in space. Hold there, breathe into it. You want to try to create some space around your upper spine, your middle spine, some rotation without the lower spine overly arcing. Bring it back to center. Nice, prop yourself up onto your bottom forearm. So same side, set the shoulder out of the ear a bit, lift up through the base of the ribs. Maybe stay on the hip or lift the hips off the ground. So now the bottom outer hip muscles start to kick in. Top arm can go to the sky. Yeah, and then maybe the top thigh, knee, and foot lifts. So now both sides of your outer glutes are on. Eyes can look forward or your eyes can look down towards your bottom arm. Yeah, and palm can be down or up for more challenge. Holding here for another 10 seconds. I don't know about you, but my bottom glutes now are really active. They're on. 5 seconds. Core is still in. 3, 2, rest. All the way down. We'll switch sides. Just make sure you're still facing the same direction as you switch. So you can still see me. Arm long or use a pillow, whatever you did on that first side. Heels in line with sit bones. Knees forward. All right. Find your neutral. So hiking up, dropping down. Not overly tucked, not overly arched. Top knee lifts up and open. Hold. Flex the foot, point the top toes to the sky, and push that top heel down and feel the back side of the glutes start to kick in. Right? Slowly lower to the edge of the tension. Try not to lose it. And then exhale, lift back and lower. Yeah, lift. Good. And lower. Lift. Nice. Again, lift and lower. Just keep feeling that sense of softness to the front of the ribs, some length in the back line. Right? And this is working external rotators. Finding that pivot in the hip joint. Still breathing. The next time the knee lifts, hold the knee there. So we're just a little bit above hip height, and then lift the top foot to meet it, right? So now keeping tension in the band, you're gonna exhale, rotate your thigh in. So your foot kicks to the sky. It's higher than your hip, higher than your thigh. Inhale, rotate back to center. And actually, sorry, push that leg a little bit back in space, and then there it is. Find that internal rotation. Yeah, back to center. And again, internal rotation. Yeah, back to center, internal rotation. Yep, keep going with this. Yeah, and then for Eva, lift that leg, hold. Now rotate, try to reach your foot to the sky. Yeah, and then drop it back down, and then rotate that thigh and try to kick the foot to the sky. Yes, there you go. And now bring it back to where you started. Last one. Yeah. And then drop everything down. Yeah, hold there for a moment. Yeah, you might just kind of pat out the side of the glutes for a second. And that top leg will go long, foot softly pointed. All right, feel the waistline in, or draw in rather. And then as you exhale, you're going to start to push that leg a little bit back in space. So again, there's the sense of the front of the hip and thigh opening, the back of the leg working, and then just return to center. And again, it's a reach back. So this is a play off single leg or side kick rather. But working the back of the glute, back of the hamstrings, opening the front. And again, doesn't have to be, a huge motion. Side of the glutes are still working to keep the tension in the band. Yeah, and this can all be done without the band as well. Next time you reach back, let's pause there. Exhale, lift a little higher, and then come back to center. Exhaling up, back to center. Exhaling up, back to center. Breathing throughout, lengthening through the foot, lengthening through the hip, making sure that hip isn't hiking. Last two. Last one. And then bring it back in. And again, just kind of pat out that hip a little bit. Hand or hands behind the head. Top elbow can lift, let the head and the ribs start to rotate back in space. Hips stay relatively stacked on this. And I just want you to hold and breathe into it for a moment. Big inhale, big exhale. And eventually bring it back to center. And again, top elbow, the head, the ribs start to rotate back in space. Still feel like this top hip is reaching a little bit away from you. So kind of down towards your feet. Breathe into the side of the waist. Return to center. Prop yourself up onto that bottom forearm. Set the shoulder. Right? So it's out of the ears, back side of the shoulder, underside of the armpit, rib line. Hips can lift. Top arm can lift. Right? Palm can be down or up on that bottom arm. Option, you can lift the top thigh, knee, and foot. So again, now both outer sides of the hip, both outer sides of the glutes are working here, right? Waistline stays in, not overly arched. Yep, still softening into those ribs. Nice, made, good. Keep breathing. Here's 10 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, and rest. All right, ditch that band. We're done with that thing. Okie dokie. No more of that. And then, so we'll start to mobilize that a little bit through planks. So we're gonna come up to hands and knees to mobilize those hips. So hands and knees, hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, fingers spread wide. Press into the ground, feel your upper back widen, feel your shoulder blades widen. And then step back into a full plank. Press into the feet, lift up through the core, eyes slightly forward. Make sure the arms aren't locked out, but you feel biceps, triceps working. And then almost imagine you could puff up your middle and your upper back slightly. Yes, nice. Holding here on your next breath out, maybe bring the right leg forward. Toes can be on the ground. Bring it back, and then exhale, maybe the left leg comes forward. So about, knee under hip or so. Inhale back. So just a couple more like that, just giving the hips a little bit of movement, working the core, upper body, the arms. Yeah, you can always have, right, as you come forward, the foot's on the ground, so there's a little bit more stability. One more to the left. And then down dog or child's pose. Take a full breath wherever you're at. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And then slowly bring it back down into plank. Now hands, if we're on a really thick mat, your hands can always be on the wooden floor. Now right knee is going to bend forward. It can cross under your body slightly to the left. My foot's still on the ground. And I want you to see, right, with that knee bent, with that knee almost 90 degrees, hip almost 90 degrees, do you feel your outer waistline? And then come back to center. Left knee forward first, right? So the knee's under the hip. Walk it to the right, to the edge of the mat. So your hips and your ribs spiral. I'm still pushing to my arms. Come back to center. And again, right knee forward, bring it under. There's a little bit of twist. Really press through the arms. Wake up the sides of the ribs, back to center. One more, left knee forward, bring it under, right? I have weight in both feet as I twist. Back to center, and again, down dog or child's pose. Shoulders wide, big inhale, big exhale. And then we'll all meet down in child's pose. Arms can come back behind you, palms face up to offload the wrist for a moment. Good. And then make your way all the way down to your stomach, all the way down onto the belly. All right. So hands are somewhere in front of the shoulders with the elbows bent. And you want to find a place where your shoulders can fully relax forward, right? They're not already down and in. They're completely relaxed. Fingers spread, legs wide. Pubic bone heavy, tummy lifts. As you inhale, start to float the head and the chest up to about the center of your breastbone. Relax the arms. Keep lifting through your lower waistline. And as you inhale, imagine you could lift your upper spine a little higher without too much change in the low back or the pelvis, or without too much work into the arms. And then bring it back down. So again, set the tummy. As you start to float up, inhale, shoulder blades react. They start to draw down and in, just to at the center of the breastbone. Now hold here. Try to relax your arms. They're not doing too much work. And again, as you inhale, imagine that on the inhale, you get a little bit more movement through the upper spine. So I'm not using my arms to create that extension. I'm using my back extensors, and then bring it back down. And just one more like that. So starting to peel up, head starts the motion, shoulders react, upper spine reacts, a little bit of waistline, hold. And again, just kind of right, your arms are on the ground, just ease into them, ease into the knees and the legs. And on your inhale, yeah, exactly. Notice if that inhale breath gives you some more movement somewhere in that upper area of your spine. Just a couple more like that, a couple more breaths rather. Yeah, does everyone feel that? Okay. And it might feel like there's kind of this deep internal stretch through your core. Your core is still on, even though it's on a little bit of length. And then take it all the way down. Reach your fingers back towards your feet if you want to play around with advancing it. Palms will face in. Nose about an inch off the ground. Set your tummy. Inhale, start to float up. So head, chest, shoulders, then arms. Keep the lower waistline on, a little bit of glute on this one in the background. And again, as you breathe in, does that create more movement? And as you breathe out, you might lower down a bit, that's fine. But again, on the inhale, can you find more movement in your upper spine and your middle spine? And that inhale breath will naturally extend the spine. The exhale will naturally round it or create a little more core engagement. So we're just kind of working with the body's natural rhythms. Take one more like that on the inhale. Feel the front of the chest open, front of the collarbones. As you exhale, lengthen, lower everything down. Just one more time. Some weight in the pubic bone, low tummy lifts, glutes set. Inhale, float the head and the chest up. Maybe the legs and the arms lift, right? If the legs have lifted, again, there's that sense of opening through the front of the hips, so the back of the legs on. And now just use your breath, right? So play around with your inhale, creating more movement, right? So your breath can create a good amount of movement. And as you exhale, find more stability. Yep. And then lower everything down, push back, child's pose. Knees together will be more of a spine stretch, knees open, spine and hip. Arms can be forward. You can push into them a little bit if you want to increase the stretch, or just take them behind you if you want something a little more passive. And again, use your breath. So your breath, right, besides it bringing oxygen and life into our cells, it can help relax our nervous system. It can help create space. It can help create movement. So here, feel your breath helping to create some space in the ribs and some stretch in the back muscles. Nice. And then slowly rise up to stand any way you want to come up to stand, right? All right. So from a side view, feet about hand distance apart, right? So they can be a little bit narrower than hip distance. And then put some weight into your left foot. And if you find your hip bones with like the heel of your hand, spread your fingers out onto the side of the glutes. And then I'm gonna root my left leg down. I'm gonna bend my right leg. And I'm just gonna hold here. Now you could hold onto a wall as well, a chair, a counter, right? But do you feel these left outer hip muscles start to kick in a little bit to not allow, right, your hip to drop? Right? And then set that right foot down. And then bend your left leg, spine pretty tall. And then do you feel some of these outer hip muscles, outer glute muscles, right? Same things we were working in side series. And then lower. So take a couple more on each side. right? And as one leg bends, is there going to be a little bit of a shift? Yeah, definitely. Should there be this huge, movement? Not too much. So as you do this, think of absorbing not only through your glutes, but up through the inner thighs, your hamstrings, front of the thigh, core, back muscles, front, side, right? All of it. Thinking of rooting into the ground. And again, for the most part, things will stay pretty stacked, right? And then if you want to add on, the next time your right leg bends, keep it bent. Make sure your standing leg has a little bit of a bend, right? There's a little wiggle room there. And then one hand on your tummy, one hand on your lower back. Feel your waistline draw in. And then you're going to move from your hips. So this space won't change. Your back line won't change. I'm going to lean a little forward. I'm hinging into my left hip crease. And then I'm pushing through my standing leg to bring myself back up. So it's a little bit of a hinge, right? Kind of like a tippy bird or a single leg deadlift. There's an active stretch to the back of the leg. And then I'm using the back of the leg and the glutes to bring me up. So this is your hip extension, right? And just to get a kind of a picture of my back on this, it's not overly rounding. It's not overly extending either. Again, you could hold on to a roller, a wall, a counter, but do you feel your glutes? Sweet. So we've just brought it up to standing after all that lying down work. So just one more like that. And then once you finish that last one, just rest for a second, and then we'll switch legs. So the right leg, or just make sure it's your opposite. My right leg's down, my left leg will bend. Now for me, I tend to be pretty arched in my middle back, so I always have to think of kind of a little bit more engagement through the front of my core and a sense of opening through the back. But if you tend to be more rounded, you might have to think the opposite. So think of wherever your spot, right, your thing may be, find that centering and then start to move, start to hinge into the hip, push into the leg, rise up. So again, right, the one cue might not fit all on this one. Find your posture and whatever will keep you from gripping in it. And then it's just movement through that hip joint. And then all the muscles around it have to react. They get to work and balance you out, stabilize you. Check that your first toe, that big first toe, isn't trying to keep you up. It's not trying to do all the work, but that work is fairly evened out through the foot. Last one. And then both feet on the ground whenever you're there to shake things out a little. And then come back to feet about hip distance, parallel-ish. And then close your eyes. And towards the end of the hour, just notice as your eyes close, how's your posture feel? Does it feel any different? Do you feel more buoyant in your bones or in your joints? And if you shift forward and shift back, so towards the toes, towards the heels, find your center. And if you shift a little left and right, and then find your center, do things feel a little bit more even? As you inhale, take the shoulders up into the ears. And then exhale, just let them fall. There's two more like that. Inhale, shoulder up, shoulders up. And down. And then one more like that. Inhale, shoulders lift. And lower. And keep a sense of weight in the shoulders. Exhale, tilt the head to one side. And just notice if this feels any different. Inhale back to center, exhale to the other side. So sometimes, right, we didn't do any neck work today, right, in quotes, but just moving the upper spine, getting some of these deeper neck flexors on and getting some movement in the back of the neck can change our side to side motion. Take a couple head circles. Just reverse. Make sure you feel even. And then find your center. Eyes can be closed or open. Take one last big breath in through your nose. And out through your mouth. And we can open our eyes. And that's it for today. Thanks for joining. If you have any questions, please let me know.